recording. You guys are on candid camera. Okie dokie Finokies. For those of you guys that are joining us, there is an agenda for today. I want to take a look at the agenda. I'm going to take care of announcements first. Announcements are going to take about 5 minutes. So at 8:45, I'm going to be done. And then we're going to have a sign up for Khan Academy. I have some assignments that I'm going to have you guys do there. The next unit is going to be heavy duty process oriented, and you have to know a bunch of things. So I'm going to assign some assignments there that I know that you'll do them. I can see you can't. You'll have to literally go through them in order to get the credit. You'll appreciate it a lot towards the end. And then we're going to get into the lesson of oil rig. That'll be able to take about 10 minutes, and then Q&A is about 35 minutes, and then exit ticket will take only 5 minutes. And let's look at these announcements in detail really quick. So the announcement about the retakes. So there are several of you guys that upon the announcement that you could take retakes from Q1, I'll have to submit a grade change form. I'm not going to submit a bunch of those. I'm going to submit one that will be for anybody that does have an improvement on their test. And so what I'll do is I'll hold this exam on one day, and it'll be a biomolecule enzyme retake. I can only do it once. There's a couple of reasons. One, I already offered a retake. So I've already offered 2 tests for this particular exam. And by offering a third, I am going to start losing questions to use on your final exam. And I still need questions to use on the final exam for the fall. And then I still have to have 2 final exams for you guys at the end of the 2-year period. There's only so many biomolecule enzyme questions that IB has out there for me to use. And I want to make sure that I'm using new ones every time so that I make sure that you guys get as good of I can maintain integrity and get you guys as prepared for the exam as possible. So I'm very methodical about it. It's not like I'm just casting questions out there into the ether and hoping something works out. I'm very methodical about how, oh no, went the wrong direction. Holy smoke, hold on a second, went the wrong way. Sorry about that. Let me go back. Very methodical about how I make these tests. The cell exam retake is going to be on the 2nd of December at 3 o'clock as well. So these are the times that we have to take these. Please plug these into your calendar. Please plug these into your calendar. You're going to not just write them down because you might forget it. Put it in your phone, set an alert so that if you do want to take this, you need to log in with this link at 3 p.m. and then that's it. So make sure that you do that, because if you send an email, I forgot, my response to you is going to be, I believe you. I need you to show this responsibility and show the responsibility by coming at the appropriate time, because I just can't afford to have any more tests. By the way, you guys did really well on the exam. You guys historically have, or traditionally, or always, so far, it's not that many, only have 2, the sample size of 2, but in the first 2 tests, you guys have outperformed their period. I think the mean score was a 69, I believe, in this class. 69 for a raw score is not too bad at all. It's not too bad at all. So I would not be too displeased with that. Okie doke. Now we're going to sign up for Khan. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. There is a code right that you're about to see. I need everybody to join this class. There's a class code, and I will assign an assignment this evening. But please see, this is the class code in the top right. So you'll need to make a profile. You'll need to make a profile. You join Khan, and I'll wait 5 minutes for you to do that. When you get in, there's going to be a place where you can join a class. Our class code is right here in the top right corner. I'll give you guys till 9 o'clock to join this. I'll refresh the page and see who the students are in just a moment. What's up, kiddo? Say. Say. I got a text that asked me why I'm keeping my camera off. It's so that my audio is as good as possible. It's been pretty bad in the past week. If you're just joining us, you need to use this class code. I'm going to close this in 2 minutes. If you haven't got the class code written down, you need to write it down and join the class, make a profile on Khan Academy and use the code. And it says, how do you add the code? There'll be a point whenever you're creating an account and you create this account, there'll be a place for you to join a class. And when you join the class, this is the class code. I'll refresh it. Let's see how many students we have so far. No, it's not letting me refresh. Really? It says did anybody else say that the code was invalid? Looks like it worked for everybody, a lot of these other people. Okay, so some of you guys have joined the class. I want to also be careful about our names. So right now it looks pretty good. You guys are choosing names that I know who this is. This is Miriam, this is Monas, LeVar, excellent. I need to be able to know if you haven't joined the class now yet. I need you guys to join. Hold on a second. Who is this person? MLAN. Who is that? BRIMLAN. Who is that? Probably. Okay, so I don't know for sure. So whomever this is, please do me a favor. It allows you to change your name. You can edit display name. You can change your name to your actual name. Tonight, I cannot post any lessons on here until tonight, because if somebody joins after I've posted lessons, they will not see those. They will not see them. So if you don't join by tonight, you're not going to see what those lessons are. And if you don't see what those lessons are, you're going to take an L on that. We don't want that. We want to make sure that you're getting all the credit that you're due, as well as getting the help that you need. So please make sure that you have joined this class. I'm going to end this now. And if you need to come back and get the class code, you can come back and you can watch the video and get it. 16 out of the 22 of you guys have done so far. So I'll post that. So going back to the agenda, what we have to do next, we got a chat. Yes, you can. You can register for a class. It'll allow you the option to join a class. It'll allow you the option for a class. So the next thing we're going to do is oil rig. So I'm sharing my screen with you guys. I'm going to go to our lesson. So make sure that you go to Schoology. I'm going to Schoology now, and I'm going to open this document. This document is called oil rig. Everybody has a copy of it. I want you guys to open your copy of this. Open your copy of oil rig. So I'm going to go through and let's see how many of you guys have opened it. Good job, Jacob. Good job, Sarah. Good job. Novar hasn't done it. Waiting for the line. give you guys a second here, and we're going to spend only 10 minutes doing this. Please open the document oil rig. Good job, Ashmead. Good job, Keaton. Good job, Manas. Good job, Kate. Good job, Santos. Good job, Dev. Good job, Chastity. And no, Sarah. Okay, and we got Abel. Abel's there, so we'll use Abel. Thank you, Abel. Make sure that we can all see it. So I'm going to let Abel help us. I'm going to read from Abel's, and then everybody's going to stare at Abel's work. So when we look at this document, I've written a couple of things here, and I really want you guys to think about reduction and oxidation in probably slightly different ways than you're used to. It's going to be really important for us to talk today. So I'm going to start with people that I know can hear me and can speak. So Randy, when I say reduction, what's the first thing that enters your mind? When I just say reduction, what logically pops into your brain? And share with us so that we're not in the chat. It would really be a lot more helpful if we can all talk. What is the first thing you think of reduction? With the word reduction, what comes in your head first? And I'm talking about Rosenbaum, by the way. Okay, so I see you're saying cooking. I didn't realize that you were chatting. Let's try to, let's speak. So in terms of cooking, why do you say reduction for cooking? Why do you say cooking reminds you of the word reduction? Hello, Randy, still sticking with you, kid. Reduction reminds you of cooking. What about reduction reminds you of cooking? No, I'm not chatting. If you can speak, I need you to speak. If we just chat back and forth, the experience is not going to be what it needs to be. So that's not going to be okay. So
I watched a lot of Cake Boss when I was little, and I remember them talking about reductions, but I don't remember much else from it.
oh, okay. So it's just something that you remember from them saying from a cooking show. But whenever I'm thinking about reduction, usually we're talking about taking away. I'm going to read this to you, and I want you guys to think about this. And then after you've thought about this, I want you to tell me what your answer is to this question. So reduction doesn't mean taking away or reducing a number, even though technically that's how we probably learned the word. What it means in science is that it means reducing the charge. So think about it for a moment like a cell phone. If I take my cell phone and I plug it in, and I say you're reducing the charge, intuitively, you probably think that the telephone at your, because all of us have these telephones, we want them fully charged all the time. We think of that as the charge is getting lower, going from 100% to 0% because the number is decreasing. That's not exactly what this means in this term. For instance, I want you to think about this way. For instance, if you add an electron to a molecule, you've lowered the charge. These molecules, we'll say it is E negative, right? It's a little negative symbol. That's the negative part of the atom. Atoms have positive, particles and negative particles. What we're really transferring through that wire are electrons. The battery inside is lithium, and that battery is becoming more full of electrons. The charge is getting lower, but it's getting more energetic. So it says this molecule has likely gained some mass and become larger, mostly because the electrons are adding, and it's like adding an atom or a proton along with it. So these little electrons are going to be sometimes being carried by protons themselves. So I want you to remember that electrons are where covalent and ionic bonds form. This is called a redox or an endergonic reaction. So these are redox reactions. These are endergonic reactions. Ender means inside. And this reaction does not release heat. Your phone is not going to release heat when it's charging. At least it shouldn't. If it's turned on, it might. But you've probably felt your phone get really hot other times while you're using it. It's releasing heat. But when you're charging it, it should not be, especially if it's turned off. So in this question, does lowering the charge make the molecule more energetic or have less energy? More energetic or have less energy? That's the question. Now you can drop that one in the chat and drop it out to everybody. Make it open, make it open. Does lowering the charge make the molecule more energetic or have less energy? Drop it in the chat. Open to everybody. Thank you. Thank you, Keaton. Thank you, Santos. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Turner. Oh, good, good, good. Yeah, it's going to make it more energetic. That's right. It's going to make it more energetic. So you want to literally, on your own document, write that on there. This is going to be kind of confusing if you don't change the way you think of the word reduction or redox. You'll be thinking that I'm talking about taking away, or the question is going to be talking about taking away. Instead, what we're talking about is adding energy to the system, because the energy in the system is going to be all tied up in these electrons. So Abel should be typing right in here now, more energetic, more energetic. Thank you, Abel. Look at Abel. Love that Abel. Look at that kid. He's as beautiful as the day is long. So let's go over here to oxidation. Now you'd think oxidation probably in the opposite way, and you should. So some of you guys will probably have cars that are 10 years old or more. My truck now is almost 11 years old. So if you have a car that's more than 10 years old, go ahead and drop in the chat. I've got a car that's more than 10 years old. Oh, and I'm going to ask one of you to help me with something. Who has a car that is more than 10 years old, or has a family has a car that's more than 10 years old? Drop it in the chat. I'm going to see who that is. I can't be the only person who has a 10-year-old vehicle. Can't be. Oh my God, we got kids here. We got kids here. Thank you, thank you. Abel, look at you, man. Now, Abel, let's hear you, baby. Let's hear you. Let's see how good your audio is. Just say Abel or yes or something, so I can see how good your audio is. Can you hear me, kid? Come on.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
Oh, listen, you sound like, oh my gosh, you should be an actor. You sound so great. Okay, now, listen, Abel. Does your car have a paint job that has been touched up, or is it still the original paint?
It's been touched up.
Oh, no, that's terrible. Now, why did you touch it up, though?
Because the paint was chipping and cracking.
Chipping and cracking, okay. What about the headlights? Are the headlights bright and clear, or is the glass or plastic over the headlights, is it kind of foggy?
It's foggy.
Okay, now the reason is, let's read through this real quick and come back to this. Oxidation is where a molecule has been stripped of an electron by an atom of oxygen. Generally it's oxygen, sometimes it's other atoms as well. But generally we're going to think about this as oxygen. This is an exergonic reaction. It's where something's being broken down. So a molecule is broken down into smaller molecules or individual atoms. Oxygen is very reactive, meaning that it will break down molecules or bond with other atoms really easily. And if this molecule has been oxidized, it has electrons that have been taken away. Remember, electrons are where you have these bonds. If I take electrons away, if I take something negative away, it becomes more positive. It has a more of a positive charge. An example of this is like the paint on your car, right? It's been faded over time, so you've had to add paint to it. So when you're adding paint to it, really what you're doing is reducing that paint. You're trying to add more electrons to it to make it nice and bright like it used to be. On the surface of the headlights have become really dull. They're really foggy looking. If you strip off the outer layer, if you buff off that outer layer, you're going to now have more clear headlights because there's oxygen in the atmosphere and other compounds, ozone and other things that are from pollutants that are in the atmosphere that are breaking that down. They're tearing it apart. So if something is oxidized, it's going to break things down. And I also want you to remember this. Oxygen is the ultimate electron acceptor. And there's a reason for this, and this is going to be really important when we get to respiration. Oxygen is an electron acceptor. Because it accepts electrons, you continue to stay alive. Now, I'm not going to say any more than that because I'm not going to get to that part right now. The only thing we need to understand is that oxidation means to break things down. It means to tear things apart. It means to reduce the charge because you're taking away electrons. So, Abel, sticking with you, does a positive charge make a molecule more energetic or does it have less energy?
Could you repeat that?
It's the same question you got right there where you're about to answer. Does a positive charge make a molecule more energetic or does it have less energy?
Less energy?
It does. Thank you. It has a stupid phone. It does. It has less energy. That's right. It has less energy. Go ahead and put that in there. Less energy. Now, I've got this little acronym here, and everybody should be adding this to theirs as well. There's an acronym to help you remember this. And I want you to think about this this way. Oil rig. Oxidation is L. So think about what the L could be. And then reduction is G. What could that G be? Based on these things that we just discussed, what could L be? What could G be? Reduction is G. Oxidation is L. What could that be? What could L stand for? Ooh, I got lots of chats. Excited. Lost and grow. That's a really good one, Turner. In fact, it's almost dead on from what I was thinking. That's a really good one. You should have thrown that out there for everybody. This is for everybody, man, not just you, not just me. Don't be insular. Share your love, share your thoughts, Turner. Be a risk taker. Less and greater, excellent. Less and greater, excellent. Let's see if we can get anything else here. We're right on the money. We're maybe a minute off. Any of these actually work. What I was going to say is loss, oxidation is loss, and reduction is gain. But you could say oxidation is less and reduction is greater. Or you could say oxidation is lost, L-O-S-T. I was saying L-O-S-S. Or reduction is grow. I mean, technically, any of these acronyms, any of those would work. The traditional one that I was taught, and that is used in colleges, as the professors will often say, oxidation is loss, reduction is gain. You probably will have to deal with this in physics if you're taking physics as well. You'll be dealing with oxidation and reduction. I know you guys dealt with it in chemistry last year as well. So go ahead now, Abel, and add that to that. Oxidation is loss and reduction is gain, or if you want to use one of the that Keaton, Labar, Kim did, you can do it as well. And I'll let you put that on there and then we'll move on. But everybody should have it on there.
Wait, was it less than?
I would just put, I always think of L-O-S-S, loss.
Oh, okay.
You can just, I mean, add it however you want there. Reduction is gain. It's gaining electrons. Reduction is gaining electrons. Reduction is gaining electrons. Oxidation is a loss of electrons. And electrons are what organizes, is going to be organizing molecules. Now, below that is some vocabulary for this unit. So this vocabulary, you want to have this vocabulary. I know you're thinking, what? This vocabulary needs to be done over the weekend. You want to get this. You're going to be like, what in the heck? The reason being is I'm going to be using this. And if you, at first, we're going to study photosynthesis. If you look at the lessons ahead, the next 2 lessons are going to be about photosynthesis. Now, typically, I teach this over 12 lessons, but out of 12 lessons, 4 of those days are actually in the lab where you guys are actually testing these processes. We cannot do that. You do not have the materials at home to test this. You just don't. And because of that, there's going to take a lot more from you to get through this than it would kids previously. So this is where you're going to have to really lean in. So you want to get all of these definitions taken care of, and you know what I'm talking about when we have the next lesson. So I would work on my photosynthesis vocabulary first. Most of this is going to be pretty straightforward, but some of it is not going to be straightforward. You need to have this done before we come back to next class. Now, watching those videos, it's going to make a lot more sense. I'm going to post some videos for you guys and a little exit tickets with Khan Academy, and it's going to help a lot with this. But I am done with oil rig. Commit that. You probably want to ask each other this. At lunch, typically I eat with students, and I'm not going to be able to eat with you guys this year. Just not. So I always ask you, hey, you guys give me some oxidation or oil rig statements, and they'll give oil rig statements all at that lunch table. That way they kind of get this drilled in their head. You guys are going to need to do that as well. You just not going to be able to do it like you normally would because you're going to be separated to some point. But there are some of you guys that are in rooms together. Okie dokie finoki. So let me go back to our lesson. So let's see, what is metabolism? The next on the agenda was going to go to your questions. So let's go to your questions. And what I would like you guys to do with these questions is put these in order. Put these in order. So these are questions that you guys have posed. And what I would like you guys to do, and I'm going to give you guys till 9:14, is order them by number, by slide number. So whichever one comes first, whichever one comes first. So there's 2 from 17. Let's put those together, and then let's go for the next one, and so on. So it looks like 17, the next one's 25. I'll let you guys put that in order really quick, and I'll come back in 3 minutes. Get those in order so that we answer those in order. Thank you. In the meantime, these are the people that are going to get what I call spaghetti points. Your name should be displayed. You guys see these children's names? Yes, no, maybe so. This is these kids, if you're in this class, so in this class, I think Jacob's in here. Keaton is in here. I think Abby's in that class. But these are the students that actually pose these questions. All these questions were typed in by these students. And if your name is up here, I have this Google Doc saved, and these are Spaghetti Monster approved points. And the Spaghetti Monster, yes, Spaghetti Monster. The Spaghetti Monster is a thing. If you need to look him up and read about the Spaghetti Monster, you're certainly welcome to. But if you get a quiz and you get smoked, I've got Spaghetti Monster, you have Spaghetti Monster points. I'll do these randomly throughout the year. You follow the instructions, you pose questions. Because you pose questions, I'll drop that grade and you get a 100 on that quiz. So get a 100. All right, let's get these suckers in order. Looks like we're getting close. And again, well. It's like 17 is where we're going to start, huh? So we got 17, 25, 29, 40, 42, 49, 57, 58, 62, 63. Excellent. Looks like we got it all together. You guys beat time. We still have a minute to spare. So let's deal with these questions as is. And let's see. I have the first question that we have is, how does free energy tell us if a reaction is spontaneous? What would be considered a spontaneous reaction for a cell? So let's go and let's take a look at slide 17. So I'll stop here. So go to slide 17. Okay, so for a change in free energy, and this is something you also see in physics, free energy in a system is how organized the energy is in a system. And so what delta G means is G stands for Gibbs free energy. And so Gibbs, if there's a lot of free energy in a system, it's a very organized system. If there's less, it's not a very organized system. And the system is reaching what we call stability or equilibrium if it's becoming less organized. A more unstable system that's further away from equilibrium is a more organized system. It has more free energy. So let me give you an example. Let me try to give you an example. So this would be like a nice example for you guys, a visual example. So if I have a lot of free energy, here there's a lot of potential energy. This person is standing on a diving board. They walked up these steps, and as they walked up these steps, they did have to use energy to get these steps, but now they've got a lot of energy stored in their body because they're above the water. So they're really highly organized, kind of like thinking about diffusion. You've got a high concentration in the system. It's not at equilibrium. It's not where you have a high and a low concentration. That's where everything's spread out. This is where you're at a high level. So you got a lot of potential energy. There's more energy in the system. That would be a molecule that's all put together. Lots of it's just one molecule, and it's highly organized. All these atoms have these reactions with each other. They're bonded with these electrons. This is a reduced molecule. It's highly reduced. It's not oxidized. When I jump off of the diving board, when diffusion occurs and my molecules reach an equilibrium, where I have a molecule that it goes through a catabolic or oxidative or exergonic reaction, it breaks apart. This is at more equilibrium, more of an equilibrium. This person's going down and trying to reach an equilibrium. This is going to be a spontaneous reaction. Spontaneous reactions, as defined here, or is when the free energy in the system changes and goes from a higher free energy to a lower free energy, where everything is less organized. This is less organized. This is less organized. This person is going to a lower position. They have less potential energy stored in their body. They have a lot of potential energy stored in their body when they're at a higher point. Their body is not able to do as much work when it hits the water because they've released that energy as they've gone down. The second part of that question is, what would be an example of a spontaneous reaction in a cell? Well, in a cell, a spontaneous reaction would be anytime an enzyme is breaking molecules apart, tearing things apart. So going through a catabolic reaction like cellular respiration, where we eat something and we release water and carbon dioxide. I eat a molecule that's organized like food, and then I release it out of my cell as carbon dioxide or water, and as well as ATP. But I am taking that food and breaking it down. That would be a spontaneous reaction within a cell. Let's go to the next question. And I really won't have time to go back and say, oh, did that answer your question? I'm going to have to keep moving to try to get through these. What determines the amount of time for a reaction in a closed system to reach equilibrium? That's a really good question as well. What determines that time? And that was slide 25. So let me go to 25. Oh, come on. Surely. Come on, buddy. I don't need technical problems right now. Not right now. Here we go. 25. So what would determine that how long it would take. So let me just explain what a closed and open system is. So first, a closed system here you can see is a system where there's no inputs or outputs necessarily. The system is closed. I'm not taking in anything. I would become a closed system if I stop breathing and stop eating. So if I stop breathing, I'm going to suffocate. If I stop eating, I'm going to starve. I'm not a completely closed system unless I stop both. So if I were to plug my nose and cover my mouth, I'm going to die. I'm going to become a closed system. I'm going to reach stability. I'm going to reach equilibrium. My body is going to stop working. I've got to constantly continue to have inputs, just like here. I got to constantly take in inputs. I've got to constantly breathe, constantly eat, not meaning like eat all day, but I have to continuously take in food. When this gets low on food, I got to put more in here. I've got to continually breathe to remain an open system. Our cells in our body are open systems. They become closed when we die. And this, I still wouldn't be a completely closed system until I completely decompose and went ashes to ashes, dust to dust. At some point, all of us are going to become this. We're going to be a completely closed system, because even when I die and I stop breathing and eating, I still have energy in my body. When all that energy is dispersed across the universe and I'm at complete equilibrium, all of my particles of my body are spread all over the place, I will have become completely at equilibrium. So what determines the time it takes? Well, a lot of things. If you have something that's decomposing, would you increase the temperature if you want it to decompose faster, or would you decrease the temperature? Increase or decrease if you want something to decompose fast? What do you guys think? Drop it in the chat. Would increasing the heat cause something to decompose quickly, or making it colder? Yeah, you got it. Increasing. Exactly. Increasing heat. Now, if I put a body in a cooler, that's when we store bodies in a cooler, we put them in a morgue, we put them in a cooler, that would decrease the time to reach an equilibrium. So you're a closed system, but you're going to go into a cooler to keep you from being in a completely, a system at equilibrium. You're going to be closed, but you won't be at equilibrium yet, because then there wouldn't be anything to do with that body. We would have to be able to have a funeral, just be a bunch of dust particles. So what an increase in temperature could do it, also maybe the increase in the size of that system. So if it's a big system like the universe, it's going to take a long time to reach equilibrium. Our universe is going to go cold. It is going to go cold. All particles in the universe will spread out, because the universe at whole is a closed system. There's no inputs or outputs for our universe, and it's constantly spreading out. Eventually, it will spread out, reach equilibrium. Everything will be cold. If it's a grasshopper and it dies and it becomes a closed system, it will reach equilibrium much faster, because there's not as much matter to spread out. Not as much matter to spread out. Those were really good questions. I'm so thankful for your questions. Can somebody read me so I don't have to transition back and forth? What's the third question in the number? The slide number. It'll go much faster, more efficient.
What role does energy coupling play with regards to endergonic and exergonic reaction?
Awesome.
For slide 29.
29. So this should be 26. Don't freeze on me, computer. I don't have time for that. I got it. So I guess I got to close this for this thing to. I'm still going to have to close it. That sucks. It's going to drive me crazy. Okay, 29. Energy coupling. I think maybe an easier way to show this would be this way. All right. What role does energy coupling play? What was that, Keaton, one more time?
What role does energy coupling play with regards to endergonic and exergonic reaction?
Okay. So have you ever heard the expression, it takes money to make money?
Yes.
Okay, so this is kind of the same thing. So in this case, I have two reactions. And I always remember the law of second law of thermodynamics means the energy output in a system, the energy release in a system is always going to be greater than the energy, not greater, excuse me, but you're going to, if I put energy into a system, it's going to be less organized at the end of it, at the end of the reaction than at the beginning. You're always going to overall lose energy. It's not lost, that it doesn't exist anymore, but energy is going to go closer to being in equilibrium. People say you're always working towards death. It's typically true. We're becoming less organized with time. It's only got to fight it by eating. So we're going to have to couple these reactions. So in this case, I'm taking these two molecules, glutamic acid and ammonia, and I'm building this molecule. I'm going to build this molecule. This is going to be an endergonic reaction. I'm going to gain some calories from this. There's going to be a net gain. Free energy is going up. However, I need to break down this molecule at some point. I need to break this down. And by breaking it down, I have to invest energy to do that. And overall, I'm releasing more energy. My Gibbs free energy is decreasing. So what's going to happen is you have to spend money to make money. However, in biology, it's always going to be a loss. You're always going to be overall losing energy over time. And because of that, you have to eat more, you have to breathe more, you have to take in more matter. So in order for us to exist, we have to tear other things apart. This is the problem with having huge populations on Earth. We break things down to stay alive, and the more of us there are, the more we break things down. So reactions are often, almost always, going to be coupled reactions. I have to, in order to build a molecule, to cause this reaction to occur, to increase energy in a system, I have to invest energy in that system to do this. And so I have to break things down with ATP. So I'm having to use energy to make things work, to have them work together to do this. To build a molecule, you have to break down other molecules. To build a building, I have to cut down a forest. To build a skyscraper, I have to mine for ore. I have to mine for the iron to build that building. So there's always going to be inputs and outputs in the system. This is kind of a feedback loop here. You can see here, in order to cause a reaction, especially in active transport, I have to invest energy to move these molecules from one position to another position. I have to use energy to do that. But by doing that, I'm going to be able to get the molecules I need to cause this reaction to occur again. And it's a big, giant cycle. There's a question in the chat. Let's see what some people have. Coupled reactions are where you have to have one input and an output that are working together. Coupled reactions, I cannot drive a nail into a board unless I swing the hammer. The reaction of the nail going into the board is one reaction, but the reaction of me swinging the hammer is another reaction. So you always have to have one reaction to cause another reaction. And one's an input and one is an output. That's what coupled reactions are. To have reductive reactions, to have endergonic reactions, I have to have exergonic reactions to cause them to occur in the first place. You can't spend money without making money first. To release that money, you have to go to work. And then you store energy in the work that you do, and then you spend the money in the bank account that you built because of the work that you put into it. They're two different things. They work together. Somebody give me the next question. Hurry, hurry, hurry.
The next question is, if temperature is the main source of activation energy, what are other sources of activation energy?
Okay, good question. What slide was that?
40.
It should be right about here, right? Okay, so activation energy, noted as EA, subscript A. Heat is a form of how I could get cause a reaction to occur, right? So this would be an example of this. So I have these reactants, think of it like paper. If I have a piece of paper laying on a desk, that piece of paper is going to decompose over time. I don't know if you guys have ever opened like a 500-year-old book. I haven't, but they do exist. Imagine what those papers would be like. You open an old book, the pages are probably going to be brittle. They're going to fall apart. They're reaching an equilibrium. They're a closed system, and they're going towards a stability, being stable, be reaching equilibrium. Time and energy in the atmosphere and in the environment are going to do that. I can speed up that reaction with heat. If I were to take a flame and apply it to that paper, it's going to eventually explode. Now, and burn. We don't want that thing to happen in our bodies. So what could we do other than allow heat? With an increase in energy, if I put energy in the system, this is my y-axis, you can see these bonds are going to break. They're going to get weak. If I take my hands and I move them together, I'm going to increase the energy there, that friction, and they're going to break. And then I can have products that will reorganize themselves. So A will bond to C and B will bond to D. I can allow that reaction to occur with an increase in energy from heat, but maybe I don't want that heat to be the factor that allows these reactions to occur. I'm an organism. I don't want to get too hot. I'll get a fever and die. I'll denature my enzymes. So the other thing that we could do is use enzymes to do this at a lower temperature. So this is going to be, again, this line is activation energy. Without an enzyme, this is just going to be letting heat carry out the reaction, or I can decrease the amount of heat needed to allow that reaction to occur. So I can allow my products to increase in energy, and they'll finally break, and I'll have an exergonic reaction of a catabolic reaction, and they're going to release products. This is Gibbs free energy that's going to be released. This is the energy in the system is going to go down. I'm going to lose all this energy because I allowed this, broke these bonds. This is with heat, this is with an enzyme. So an enzyme is going to allow that reaction to occur at a lower temperature so I don't explode. If I ate food and I didn't have enzymes, the only way to get that food to break down to go through catabolic or oxidative or exergonic reactions in my body would be literally heat. And I can't walk around at 200 degrees or 225 degrees Fahrenheit, 100 degrees Celsius, and reach boiling point potentially to break things down. That would be bad. I want to digest my food at a lower temperature, so other than heat, I could use an enzyme to allow that reaction to occur. Nice. Yeah, you can, and I may have to meet with you. There's a couple of you guys that are texting me that want to talk about this later. I absolutely am down with talking about this later. Totally down with that. I have office hours today to go over the test. If you want to stay a little later and talk about this, I'm down with that. Okie doke. Next question, please.
Is activation energy an example of a catalyst?
Yes, well, sort of. Activation energy, yes, can be a catalyst. It can be. A catalyst is going to be something that allows a reaction to occur. As long as you have enough activation energy, then it's a catalyst, right? If I have enough heat, if I have a magnifying glass and I'm trying to burn a piece of paper, if there's enough of a focus of that light on that paper, then yes, it could be a catalyst. The magnifying glass could be a catalyst, but you have to get high enough energy on that piece of paper to allow that paper to start to burn. But enzymes can be catalysts as well. Catalysts they're not necessarily activation energy. They just lower the activation energy needed. So activation energy maybe not necessarily the catalyst, but the activation energy is what is changed by the catalyst. So and I guess in this case, light with a magnifying glass could be a catalyst. They change the amount of activation energy, or an enzyme, there with an active site that matches that substrate or reactant would be a catalyst as well. They lower the amount of energy needed for that reaction to occur. So maybe not activation energy itself is a catalyst, but the object or the substance or the energy that is there to change that activation energy is the catalyst. So in this case, magnifying glass and light change the energy needed for a reaction. an enzyme changes the activation energy needed for a reaction. All right, next question.
How does the lowering of the EA barrier affect the reaction rate? Slide 42.
Makes it faster. It just makes it easier and faster. And that, I mean, by lowering the activation energy right here, by using an enzyme as a biological catalyst, I allow that reaction to take place much faster. It's like if I were to take a piece of food and put it in my stomach and not put enzymes or digestive acids or any kind of substance on it that breaks it down, it's going to break down. It's just going to take a long time. If you put a hamburger on a table, it's not going to turn into a turd by itself. You need to actually apply metabolic reactions to it. So if you lower the activation energy, that's going to break down much more quickly. If you just leave that hamburger on the table, it's going to still be there probably next week. It won't look too good. It'll be kind of covered with fungus and stuff. They'll be breaking it down with their own enzymes, but it's going to take a long time. Or if you take a hamburger and seal it in a chamber where there's no energy going into or out of that chamber, it'll mummify. So it makes it faster, a lot faster. You can remember probably the definition for an enzyme. It's a biological molecule that increases the time for a reaction to take place. No, decreases the time, makes it easier for a reaction to take place. Yes, mummified hamburgers sound delicious. I agree with you, Keaton. Okay, next question. We have 3 minutes. 3 minutes, guys. Come on, next question.
How would the lowering how would lowering the activation energy barrier result in a faster metabolic reaction? For slide 49.
Okay, so this is 42. I think this would be it. I'm not sure. Let me thought. No, this is it. All right, read that question to me one more time.
How would the lowering of the activation energy barrier result in a faster metabolic reaction?
Well, because you don't take, it doesn't require as much energy. So if it doesn't require as much energy to start a reaction, then I can have that reaction happen more quickly. So like in this case, here's my enzyme, here's the active site. It looks like I have 2 substrates or 2 reactants. They go into this. Would these bond to each other if they were just bumping or floating around, or just because of diffusion they're randomly moving around? Would they eventually get together? Yes, but it would take a long time to put them together. It's like if you had a puzzle on a table, to let that puzzle assemble itself, you might be here for 1 billion years. It probably would never come together perfectly. But if you have a hand to put those puzzle pieces together like an enzyme, then it's going to happen much, much, much more quickly. And so by using an enzyme to lower the activation energy, you're going to allow it to happen a lot faster. You can see right here, it can speed up the reaction. It can speed it up. It puts them in a state where they can actually fit together. I got time for one more question.
Would coenzymes and cofactors impact the active site of an enzyme? Slide 53.
Yep, they will. Yes, they would. So slide 52 should be 2 more. Maybe there'll be an example. Yeah, here we go. So sometimes you're going to have something that will bind to a site and doesn't allow the reaction to occur. This would be an inhibitor. And so you'll have a molecule that fits into an active site that stops this substrate from binding and going into an active site. That would inhibit it. But you also have some, that's also an inhibitor. Surely there's a cofactor. Yeah, here would be an activator. So if I want a molecule to work a little better, I can add activators or cofactors to it to allow it to change the shape. So vitamin C is an example of that. Let me see if I can find a better example. That is not a good example. I will put the video on me. I'm going to put the video on me for a moment. I have a model in my hand. So if you look at me on the video, I have an enzyme. And right now, my enzyme is not in the correct shape for substrates. Remember, the substrates fit inside of it. And let's say there's a little bit of a space between it. You can see me potentially through it a little bit. So there's a gap. If I want this to lock on, if I want this to lock onto this enzyme to lock on to these substrates, this active site to change shape, I have to put a cofactor like vitamin C. So if I put vitamin C along with this enzyme, I could change the shape of the active site. If I take vitamin C out, means the active site might open up a little bit. But if I eat vitamin C, then vitamin C will allow that reaction to take place because the active site has changed its shape. So by having not eating enough fruits and vegetables, you don't get enough vitamins and minerals, and vitamins and minerals will bind to enzymes to change their active site to allow them to work more efficiently. So if you don't have these fruits and vegetables, these metabolic reactions are not going to take place. And somebody asked one of the other questions, and I'm going to stop. What can I do to increase my metabolism? Well, one of those is eat fruits and vegetables. Make sure that you get the appropriate amounts of vitamins and minerals. So you have these cofactors so your enzymes work correctly. Also, you need to carry out other metabolic functions, other exergonic reactions. If you move and you exercise, you're going to burn more calories, and your body is going to get used to burning more calories. And you'll have more enzymes around because your body's going to say, Jesus, I got all this energy I've got to break down. I'm doing all this activity. So your body's going to say, holy crap, let me make more enzymes. The more enzymes you have, the greater your metabolism is going to be. And you won't have all this, you won't be waiting for heat to break down molecules that you eat. You'll have enzymes to break down those molecules that you eat. And you'll produce a lot more waste and get this stuff out of your body. Okay, I'm going to stop. We only have 10 minutes. I want to go back to our agenda just for a second. So hopefully you guys can see this. I have an exit ticket that I need to go to. Let me go to, what is metabolism? I don't think you guys can see this. Now, before I go to this, make sure that we look at what we have due. There is endosymbiosis theory. This is the peer and self rubric. Make sure that you guys open this, you look at this. Also, make sure that you look at the presentation. This presentation is important. It's going to be due in a couple of weeks. This is not going to be directed by me. It's going to be directed by you guys. So please take a look. Your groups are in the library. You have specific groups that you're going to be working with. Those are your lab groups. Start working on that and setting some times. If you start talking about when you're going to meet next week, you're going to run out of time because you have, Thanksgiving, right? And you want to get the ball rolling before Thanksgiving. So if I were you guys, I would start setting some times that you're going to meet now, today. I would let you, and in a moment when we get through, let you guys message each other and you guys can start talking about when you can meet. You do have this due tonight. This is pretty straightforward. I'm going to open this. And before we go to the exit ticket, let's look at what this document is. Can you guys see the document, or do I need to stop sharing and open up a new page on our browser?
Yes, we can see it.
You can see it? Yay. All right, so I have two different types of reactions. I want you to pay attention that there are synonyms. Energonic, anabolic, and reductive reactions are all mean essentially the same thing. Just like feo, ugly, and pope all mean the same thing. I have these terms, and I want you just to be familiar with the idea of reduction, anabolic, and endergonic. They all mean the same thing. So is energy increasing or decreasing? You say which, you give a definition. I want you to find a graph for one, and then 2 biological examples. It's really straightforward. It's not really difficult. However, this is where I really want you to think. Identify an example of an everyday scenario which demonstrates the first law of thermodynamics. Think about, we can't separate biology from chemistry, and we can't separate chemistry from physics. Physics dominates all of us. So we can't violate these laws of thermodynamics. We are breaking down ever so slowly, so we have to go through endergonic reactions constantly to keep ourselves fighting entropy, fighting a decrease in free energy. We are open systems, and most systems are not open systems. My phone is an open system because I plug the stupid thing in. So I plug it in and make it an open system. As soon as I take that out, it is now going to be, and I turn it off, it will become like, I have to turn this stupid thing off. Once I turn it off, it's a closed system, and it will slowly break down over time. In order to prevent it from breaking down over time, I have to put inputs. Now, thermodynamics has something to do with this. I need you guys and explain, and there's a reason so many people did not get more points on the exam. Explain takes 3 sentences. So some of you guys have opened your test and already text me, that question was right. No, it wasn't, because you didn't follow the command term. In order to get this, it takes an explanation. I want to know why. You're going to identify and then tell me why. At least 3 sentences. At least 3 sentences for the explanation. So this will be one sentence, identify an example, and 3 subsequent sentences. Really pay attention to these command terms. Okay, there is an exit ticket. The exit ticket is thoughtful, to say the least. So hopefully you really went through that PowerPoint the last 2 days and thought about questions you were going to ask, and you paid attention to us today. Next lesson is photosynthesis, and we're going to be off to the races. It's going to be really important that you check con tonight. So please, at this moment, go check the exit ticket for what is metabolism. There's an exit ticket, and then knock yourself out. I won't see you guys till Monday. Check Khan Academy tonight. When the exit ticket is taken care of, you can bounce. Remember, this is how I take attendance, so you need to hit these exit tickets so I can take attendance in this. Some of you guys have not opened this exit ticket. It is important for you to do this. I'm taking attendance through this exit ticket. Mia, you having some questions? Hello, Mia. Mia, do you have any questions?
Huh?
What?
I'm confused.
I believe you. Do you have some questions?
We're supposed to be here, right?
You're not supposed to be here. I don't know.
Oh.
This is,
Okay. Bye.
yeah, I didn't, bye. Caleb, you need something?